All right, so in our example, we had just gotten to this point right here where we know that everything is equal to 0. And we had sort of said that we would, from this step, need to solve for our relationships that make the series equal to 0. And you may have noticed in the last video that I had added this blank page right here. So we're going to stop real quick and talk through the steps in detail that involve setting the coefficients. And I've gone ahead and I've copied down that thing that had been step 8 on the previous one, that you can only have 2 unknowns. I decided that list of steps was a little too long, and so I just put this right here. And the way these steps are going to work, I wrote out the first 2 to start, but you're just going to build relationship 1 and relationship 2 using stuff outside the series and stuff inside the series. So when I say stuff outside the series and stuff inside the series, I'm saying this part gives me R1, stuff outside the series. This part gives me R2, stuff inside the series. And then once you build those 2 relationships, and we'll see on our example what that actually looks like, then what we need to do is you kind of start from n equals 0. And you ask yourself, what is C0? And the way that you figure out what C0 is you ask yourself, does R1 tell me? Does R2 tell me? If not, you say C0 equals C0. Sometimes R1 is going to tell you that like C0 is 0, and then you just skip it. You just throw it away. You're done with that term. And you're going to repeat for n equals, okay, n equals 1, n equals 2, so on and so forth, until you have 2 unknown constants. And so, for example, I'm going to say that the first 2 you didn't know. So you did C0 equals C0, C1 equals C1. Or you could have had like C0 equals C0, you got C2 is 0, and then you got, you got C1 is 0, and then you got C2 is C2. That's kind of how you might end up with 2 coefficients. And then after you have your 2 unknown conditions, continue going up in n values. So for example, what is, Cn equals some stuff. So we'll say you got, for this example, you start from 2, 3, so on and so forth. So for example, what is C2 going to be? Write down using R1 or R2 in terms of unknown constants. And when I say unknown constants, I'm referring to the same unknown constants from right here. And you're just going to keep going until you can identify a pattern for your coefficients. So those are some vague sounding steps because it changes for every problem. So let's go ahead and look at the one we have. So I named my R1 and R2. So relationship 1 Okay. Relationship 1 tells me that 2C2 is equal to 0. And relationship 2 tells me that Cn plus 2 times n plus 2 times n plus 1 plus Cn minus 1 is equal to 0 for n equal 1, 2, so on and so forth. So this one's pretty straightforward. It gives me C2 is 0. This relationship right here is a little more complicated. It tells me, I think I'll do the bigger in terms of the smaller, that Cn plus 2 is equal to minus Cn minus 1 over n plus 2 times n plus 1 for n equals 1, 2, so on and so forth. So there's my R1. There's my R2. So all we've done right here is those first couple steps. Use stuff outside the series to build a relationship. Use stuff inside the series to build a relationship. The way I use those things was I said if it's going to be equal to 0, anything outside the series has to be 0, and anything attached to x to the n has to be 0. That's how you know that a series is 0, from what we learned last section. And so we're going to continue this process. I'm going to write down those two relationships on this new page. We've got C2 equals 0 and Cn plus 2 equals minus Cn minus 1 over n plus 2 times n plus 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to start from C0, C1, so on and so forth. I'm going to do that in the next video because this will take us way over 10 minutes if I keep going from now.